I'm actually going to record Vicky's talk, so the people who can't be here tonight can then actually watch it and find out what was said. So that's why you might have just heard the voice saying recording in progress. So I'm putting on my face mask, pretending to be Jeff Atkinson, who was supposed to be the host for tonight, but he then realised that he was going to be somewhere going through Warwickshire or Staffordshire at this time on his way back from, he says a meeting, but I think it might have been a jolly in London. And he knew he wouldn't be back in time. So it's my great pleasure to introduce to you two people, Vicky Blakemore, who made the initial contact with me from the organisation, which you might be able to guess is based around dogs, called Dogs for Good, and also one of their clients, Lynn Matthews. And I think it's Vicky's going to start off the presentation, and then she will hand over to Lynn as somebody who I believe has one of these dogs. So over to you, Vicky. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thanks again for this opportunity. It was literally a quick email, and then the next day I got a call and an email. So I really appreciate it. So yes, I'm Vicky. I'm a regional fundraiser for Dogs for Good in the North, joined by Lynn. And what we're going to do today is take you through what our charity actually does, how it came about, the services we provide. And then it's always good to hear from a client's perspective the differences that one of our assistance dogs have made to her life. So that's why Lynn's co-joining me today. So I'm going to share my screen, a couple of things. We love questions, but if you could save them to the end, because I'm going to make sure I keep to a tight time scale. And yeah, we love questions, never afraid to answer them, or don't be afraid to ask them. And I've got a couple of videos and some photos, and we want to make this as visual and enjoyable as possible. So here we go. So hopefully you can see that. So yes, we are Dogs for Good, and this here that we've written is our mission statement. We want to make life-changing differences for people with disabilities through the power of expertly trained dogs. That's what we get out of bed for every day. So how did we come about? Let me introduce you to a lady in this picture here on the right. Her name is Frances Hay. And she had that vision that one day an assistance dog would be available to everybody who needed one. She was just 16 when she got diagnosed with bone cancer, and she had to have a half thigh amputation, but she was a tough old cookie, as the saying goes, and she was undeterred. She wanted to live her life to the full despite her disability and despite the uncertain life expectancy that came with the cancer that she had, and she just continued to live her life to the full. She had a dog at the time. It was called Kim, and Kim was a Belgian Shepherd. And as any of you guys who've got a dog, you probably know, the great companions. And Kim was always by her side and just seemed to instinctively know when she needed a bit of assistance. And Kim instinctively helped her overcome some of her physical problems, giving her support when Frances needed it. And this gave Frances the eureka moment, and it helped Frances realize a dog could help disabled people in many ways. So we move over into 1988, and at this point Frances was 39, and with her vision and a similarly minded group of people, some of which still work with our charity today, the charity was founded. It was originally called Dogs for the Disabled, and I'll explain the change of the name in the next slide. And they began training people, they began training dogs specifically to help adults with physical disabilities. That's how we first started. And we've just gone from strength to strength, as you can see from this timeline here. Sadly, Frances died in 1990 and would not see how impactful her vision was. But we keep in regular contact with her family, and we named the head office in Banbury the Frances Hay Centre in memory of her. So who do our dogs help? Move on to the next slide. Who do our dogs help? This is a picture of Lynn with one of her assistance dogs, and Lynn will take you through later on how one of our assistance dogs, Krista, she's presently got, helps her on a day-to-day basis. And this is our bread and butter. This is what we're best known for, and this is what the majority of the dogs that we train do end up becoming physical assistance dogs. The second service that we provide is to train dogs for children with autism. And I'm going to show you a little video now, and this is of Emily, and she's got one of our assistance dogs called Oslo. And as you can imagine, for someone who's on the autistic spectrum, life can be quite scary outside, especially now in COVID times. So Oslo helps her overcome that and gives her confidence to go out and about and live life to the full.
My wife and I, we have twin girls, Emily and Olivia. Emily is autistic. Wearing clothes and going out and about is something that she's really struggling with. And we had people saying, oh, that's another naughty child. It was just getting too much really for all of us. Oslo supports Emily predominantly when we're out and about. When she holds his handle, she knows she's safe, she knows she's confident and can go out with him. And Oslo gives that visibility and that profile when we're out and about. Just being able to go out to a local cafe and Emily to be able to sit, and she's quite happy and content to know that I'm there, Oslo's there, and we're able to just enjoy life a bit more really.
So as you can imagine, these dogs play a different role to the physical assistance dogs. They provide more of a calming influence for the child or for the adult, and they can also act as a safety anchor whilst out and about in public. So the dog wears a harness and it has a double lead, so the parent will hold one lead and the child will hold a shorter lead. And also, if the child is of a certain age, they can also have what looks like a belt around the child. So if the child gets scared and hears a sight or a sound or something sparks off and it makes them a bit scared, the dog will act like an anchor and stop the child running off and potentially getting hurt and getting into trouble. It's actually harder to train a dog for an assistance, someone with an autism assistance requirement, and that's mainly because the needs of one child to adult vary so much. And on average, we train around and place around 9 to 10 autism assistance dogs a year. We would love to train more, and the reason why we would love to train more is that over the last few years we've seen a sudden increase in our inquiries being for people who want a dog to help them with their autistic child. But we're a small charity, we just simply can't sadly meet that demand, and so we recognise that many of the families who wanted an autism assistance dog could possibly still achieve their goals with a well-trained pet dog instead. And so the idea of family dog workshops was born, and it was set up in around 2010. And they normally take place pre-COVID around the country. We have a couple of workshops in your beautiful county, Penrith, I know there's one in there, and Carlisle. And they normally consist of 3 different sessions, 3 different days. And in those sessions, they include practical demonstrations with our workshop dogs, or demo dogs as we call them. We have discussions on learning and provide them with loads of course handouts. And we discuss things like what's the right type of dog for the family, because each family is different, house things so many consider, breed types, so what breeds we find to be easier to train than others, and puppy versus dog. We discuss things like how you can get your child involved in training and the welfare of the dog as well. And after the workshops, the attendants have access to an online closed community group on Facebook. And that's where they can share ideas with people who are going through a similar experience, bounce ideas, bounce insights. And also they have access to the trainers who did the course sessions and on a regular basis, and that's ongoing forever after they've attended. As you can imagine, due to COVID, like we're meeting today, it's all transferred into Zoom. And we've been very successful with that. We've seen a really good uptake from that, a lot of attendance. And what we're hoping to do when we can start doing them face to face again is we will do a hybrid, kind of like what Richard was saying earlier, that we'll do a mixture of some Zoom and some in person, so that we can reach even more people, because sadly the demand is there, but we can't meet it from an assistance dog perspective. If you know anyone that you think would benefit from this service, I'm happy for my details to be handed over to you, or you can get in touch with me directly, whichever works best. And we have had some really great feedback from this workshop that we do. We also train community dogs, and the reason why we train community dogs is that we recognise that for some people having a dog in their home full time is just not a possibility. but we know that so many people can still benefit from what is known as animal assisted intervention. So we have community dogs, mainly based around the Banbury, our head office, so Warwickshire and Oxfordshire area, and also a little bit further down in the southwest. And our community dogs live and work with a Dogs for Good handler. This is Sarah in this picture here. And they live in a loving home environment, and they're like a double act, they're like a little team together. And they go together and work in hospitals, in schools, in respite centres, and also they help children and adults with either autism, learning disabilities and dementia. Yeah, we really love our community dogs, and we see them as our unsung heroes because they work with so many people on a one-to-one basis. We've heard so many magnificent stories. We heard of a lady who is a carer for her husband. Sadly, her husband has cancer. So she was becoming very agoraphobic, very scared of going out because she was spending a lot of time at home with her husband. And so we worked with her on a one-to-one basis. So whenever the Macmillan nurse or the occupational therapist is coming in to see her husband, we would then go and see her and get her to come out with us for a walk, and that helped build her confidence again. We had a gentleman who had communication issues, shall we say, and he was coming across quite aggressive in the way that he was talking to the staff and also to attendees of the daily respite centre, and it was looking likely that he was not going to be able to go anymore. And much to the worry of his elderly parents, they were worried that he would have to end up in a place 24/7 and because they were of a certain age and unable to help him all the time. But we worked with him on a one-to-one basis, improved his communication where needed, and that in then turned him being able to go back again, much to the relief of his parents, himself, and everybody else. That's just two examples. I could talk forever about all the different ways that our community dogs help people on a one-to-one basis. We our final string to our bow, so to speak, is our dogs that we train for helping people with early stages of dementia. This started in 2012, and it was a small project which we did with Alzheimer's Scotland, and it was to explore how our trained assistance dogs can help people with a diagnosis of early stage of dementia using some of the skill set from what we teach our physical assistance dogs. And that enables the person with early stage dementia to still live well at home, be it with their partner or a full-time carer. So the way that it works is we work with the Scottish Prison Service and also Pause for Progress, and we set up the first prison-based assistance dog training program in Scotland. I always have to say that a bit slowly because I always get my teeth in a tumble. And this project benefited everybody. It didn't benefit just the client, it also benefited the men in custody because it helped develop their employability skills, and it gave them a sense of pride of what they'd helped also accomplish and the role that they played within that. The way that it works, a lot of people don't always ask us how can a dog help someone with dementia, is it kind of helps with reinforcing a daily routine. So the dog will respond to either a bell or a little ping, a little alarm of some kind, and that noise, the dog will know to go and get either medication pouches, a bottle of water to help the client stay hydrated. The dogs can also help with regulating sleeping patterns, so giving someone a gentle nudge if they're having a cheeky cat nap, especially in this hot weather. They can also help set up the daily routine in the morning, helping them get dressed or undressed of an evening. And the dogs are similar to our other assistance dogs, but the only difference is their harnesses don't say, please don't distract me. We want to encourage that level of communication when our client is out and about in their community, so they don't feel so isolated. And as you can imagine, it can also help with improving levels of physical exercise. It can provide a positive focus for the couple to enjoy together. It can boost confidence, as I just mentioned, by getting them to talk to people when they're out and about. And it can also reduce isolation and separation anxiety if their carer or partner has to bob out to the shops or do something. The dogs are amazing in that they can also act as a conversation starter. Lynn will tell you this when she talks shortly, but a lot of our clients say how isolated they feel with their disability, that people don't know how to talk to them. And a dog can bridge that gap. I mean, I've got a pet dog and I know more neighbours now than I ever did. And that's because it's a conversation starter that, you know, it's an easy way in to get that conversation flowing. And as you can imagine, dogs are brilliant at providing unconditional companionship. So the dogs are a great benefit to the client in that sense as well. So that's a whistle-wind tour of all the different ways that our clients help people. As I said earlier, Lynn will take you through in more detail in the way in which Krista helps her on a day-to-day basis. But I'm now going to take you through the training program, because it doesn't just happen at a flick of a switch. It all starts with a puppy, and we have our own breeding program. And this is with dogs that we have been carefully selecting through all the different litters and through our learnings to help us produce dogs with the best traits we're looking for to provide someone with a great assistance dog. All our dogs live in volunteer homes, and the brood bitches go through pregnancy and birth whilst in a loving home environment. None of our dogs stay in kennels at all. We mostly breed Labradors, Golden Retrievers, and we've also been trialling other breeds, German Shepherds, Border Collies, and Spaniel and Poodle crosses, but these are less common. Labradors and Golden Retrievers are great in their natural instinct and in what they like to do, which is retrieve, pull, and also they love their food, so you can train them whilst rewarding them with treats. So the way that it works is we have a network of puppy socialisers who are our volunteers, and we have several in the county of Lancashire and Cheshire, and close to where I'm based in Warrington Runcorn area. And they take our puppies in from the age of 8 weeks old and have them until around 12 to 16 months old. And their task, with the support of our puppy coordinator, is to help them with basic obedience, help them with confidence in testing them out in different environments, different sights, different sounds. And this stage is not assistance dog training as such. This is more like the confidence, the foundation for what is the next level. We want to see that they walk nicely on a lead. We want to see what their social behaviour is like. And just, yeah, as I said, just to get them to experience different scenarios to increase their confidence, so that when they are an assistance dog, nothing phases them whatsoever. At 16 months, they're then moved to a new volunteer boarder. So this is the picture here. This is the second phase here. This is Sarah with one of our dogs. And they're then based near to our Banbury office. And it's kind of like a 9-to-5 job then at this stage. So they're with a temporary boarder, and the temporary boarder drops them off at our centre 9 a.m. and then picks up a very tired and content dog at 5 p.m. And the dog and the trainer spend that time getting a close bond, and Sarah will spend that time, we have other trainers, but this is just Sarah in this picture. They will spend that time getting to know what the dog's strengths are, what things does the dog like doing in particular, what does the dog not like doing in particular, and that starts us thinking what kind of assistance dog they would be best suited for. We only use positive training methods when we're training the dog, and that's through a clicker and rewarding them with treats. Yeah, that takes around 4 to 6 months. And from that stage, if they're then qualified, that we know that they meet the grade to be an assistance dog, they're then discussed in what we call a matching meeting. And that's where all our instructors all sit down together and with our trainers, and we go through all of the dogs that are in our portfolio at that time. And we discuss which dog we think would be suitable for what client is on our waiting list. And because of X, Y, and Z, it could be someone who wants a dog for autism. It could be someone who wants a dog for a physical disability. So it's very important that we get that partnership right. And I'm sure Lynn will mention that later. And also because they're going to be together, especially if it's an individual with a dog, they're going to be together for the next 10 plus years. So it's important that we get it right. If the dog is going to be with an individual, as in this picture here, the third picture on the right, we will get the dog to meet the client in their home. The instructor will take them over there, and this is called a matching visit. And this is where we start to see whether we think that this would work out. We see how the first instincts are with them together, and we look at is there a bond there? Does the dog feel comfortable in the house? Does the client feel comfortable with the dog as well? It works both ways. And if we think that there is potential for this to be a successful partnership, the dog is then placed in the client's home, and the instructor will go and visit them on a regular basis and work specifically on what the client's needs are. So in the second picture, we train them things like pulling, pushing, retrieving, and barking on command. They're the standard thing. Or when walking confidently and calmly with someone who's using mobility aids. But in the third stage, we fine tune it even further. So we could have a client who is, I don't know, who is very prone to dropping things. So we will fine tune that skill to make sure that the dog knows if the client drops something to go and retrieve it for them. It could be that, you know, the client is in a house and it has certain requirements in terms of pushing and pulling doors to help them live an independent life as much as possible. So we will work with them on that on a one-to-one basis to make sure that the partnership is spot on. And then at the end of this bonding phase and training phase, which takes around 6 weeks, they then undertake a final assessment together, a qualification. And if they pass, that is then an official partnership. So as you can imagine, as the title says, it does take a lot of time. It takes up to 2 years to train an assistance dog, but it is worth it in the end. I'm going to hand over to, the reason why it's worth it is one of our stories now, which is the lovely Lynn, and she's going to tell you of how Krista helps her on a daily basis. And also she's had 2 dogs with us. Odie was her first one. And Lynn is a wheelchair user, as you can see in this picture, and she'll tell you all about how, yeah, Krista helps her on a day-to-day basis. Over to you, Lynn.
Thank you, Vicky. Yeah, I mean, without Dogs for Good, I should have said initially when I had Odie, my first dog, a dog from Dogs for Disabled, I honestly don't know how I'd have coped. What happened is I had applied for an assistance dog 2 years before, and so it took me 2 years to get a dog, and that's an average time now of a wait for an assistance dog. And at that time, my mum was fine. She was elderly. She was 84, but she was very fit. When I applied for Odie, now while we were actually waiting, my mum became poorly, and just before I had Odie, Mum died. So Odie could not have come at a better time. I mean, my mum would have loved Odie, she really would. But the things that she did for me was amazing. I was working that time as a social worker, and she came to work with me, and she did loads of different things. I mean, I used to drop a lot of things, and people get fed up with picking things up for me. But Odie absolutely loved it. But like Vicky said, he loved treats, and Odie would do absolutely anything for a treat. One of the things that she did do was once we're in Marks and Spencer's. This will get fed up with this story. We're in Marks and Spencer's one day. We lived down Stoke-on-Trent at that time, and she picked up a pair of knickers, and didn't see pick up these knickers at all. And there she is. I never saw this. We're about to go through the door, and the assistant came up to me and said, "Madam, you were aware that your dog's got a pair of knickers in her mouth?" I felt like a phantom knicker. But yeah, but even then, we just laughed at it, thankfully. I didn't want to be arrested, I didn't want to be charged with shoplifting. But she's amazing, she really was amazing. When she died, she was 14, and it was very sad when she died. But Krista came along 4 years before that, and this is Krista, the one on the left with me, me very short was had a head shave, And like I said, we sort of do a lot of fundraising for the charity, and we had our heads shaved then for the charity. We raised over £1,000, which obviously was a lot of money for the charity at that time. And we just feel a good laugh about it. Sue grew back, and the one on the right is just typical Krista. She likes the yogurt pot, so she has a good lick of the yogurt pot. So she doesn't have to do anything to get a yogurt pot. She just gets the yogurt pot. And as you can see, it gets all over her face and everywhere. So, but she ain't bothered. She just loves things. Now, the other thing that Krista does, I mean, by the time that I'd had Krista, I'd retired and come to live up in Hisham, not too far away from yourself. And she loves exploring. She's a very, very different dog from Odie. Odie was a very quiet dog, and Krista was quite a party girl. But like I said, she certainly met all my my needs. To look at what my capabilities are, what a dog can actually do for me, what is the best way that they can do it. And I mean, again, Chris is a good retriever, but also she's absolutely brilliant at getting me undressed. There was one occasion I was asked to do after the tour, and we were invited along to this very posh do. And Kristen knew that night was all about her. So one of the things she went and did is collected everybody's napkin off the knee and brought them back to me. So obviously, she brought something back to me, so I got to give her a treat. So then the next thing, everybody thought it was hilarious. So, she brings a lot of laughs. And then normally we do a tour. And what happened then is that we normally do the tour, and then there would a presentation like Vicky's done today, show a film, and then do a demonstration. But no, Krista was not going to wait for anything of that. She wanted to undress me. And when I say undress me, I mean undress me. She wanted to pull my trousers off. She always pulls my shoes off and my socks off. And she pulled my trousers off at home. But she wanted to pull my trousers off there as well. Thankfully, they're all buttoned up. So we weren't giving a striptease or anything like that. But she, like I said, she loves doing it. And she's very good at doing all the activities. Although, like I said, I've retired, so I'm no longer go to work. Although now people say you're busy when you retire than when you're at work, and I can fully agree with what they say there. Because I mean, this is just a short film of one of the things that she does for me.
Dress. So for instance, she'll take my jacket off. Mister, yeah, Paul, what a good girl. Good girl. Paul, these are the instructions that you give her. You know exactly what to do. Good girl. Paul, what a good girl that is. You can see she's happy. She loves doing things like this. I can't leave the little one out. We call him the supervisor. And he's our pet dog. This is Charlie.
Yes, you can see Charlie. And I forgot to mention about little Charlie. Charlie we had when Odie passed away 4 months afterwards. Chris was finding it difficult to actually cope without another dog in her life. And so were we. And we went to a rescue centre quite a few times to find the right dog. And they said, oh, come tomorrow, there's a little Shih Tzu coming in. Oh, we didn't realise how tiny that little Shih Tzu is. He is a tiny, tiny dog. And it would be lovely if any time we can actually meet up. I can show you Charlie as well. But yeah, as I said earlier on, we do lots of volunteering. We're very daft. I'm daft at most of the time, but we're very daft when we do collections and what have you, as you can see here. We do a display which has a lot of information. But this was 2 years ago when we did a collection at Morris's in Morecambe. And it was Christmas time, 2 days before Christmas. And we actually raised over £400 that day. So we did quite well for one day. But yeah, we really enjoy that. And this is the other thing that we actually do. It's a shame you just don't know a little bit closer to us. Every year we organise a sponsored walk. We do an annual sponsored walk across the prom. Anybody who knows walk, we start at the Battery, then walk up Mount Park. And when we first start our first walk, we had 5 walkers. We've now got over 100 walkers. So over those 8 years been going, we've actually gathered more support. And on the last one we did, we raised over £2,500. So you know, we got what we normally do it in May, but we're actually having to do it in September this year because of COVID. So I also wanted a dry day, and that's Krista and Charlie there chilling, and also this is Krista there. It's not all work for them by any means. You have to make sure you take them out every day, not in this hot weather, obviously. But she loves the water, as you can see there. The river's down round here and not far where we are. And we've got the beach. But I mean, she loves the free run. To the point where she did a run around me, a free run around me, basically. We're down in, just the Forest of Dean. And she loves to chase things. And she saw a squirrel or everything, she just went. And off she went and then got lost. Half an hour she went missing. I thought I was never going to get her back. So one of the things that you do to call the dog back is to blow the whistle. And I think I blow and blow and blow, and she still didn't come back straight away. But eventually she heard that whistle and came back half an hour later. She was very glad to see us, and so was I glad to see her. But thankfully, you know, she came back. The other thing as well that Krista helps me so much with is meeting people, like Vicky said. I have a speech problem, as some of you can probably tell. I have a condition called dystonia, and I had an operation called deep brain stimulation. There's a brain in there somewhere. And following that, it's given me what they call complex partial seizures, which I don't have grand mal fits, but I have these seizures that basically make you feel very, very tired, and I just can't function very well at all. So she helps me then as well. But Krista actually retires this year. She's 11 years old, and I'm going to miss her. She's not going very far. She's just going to, she's going to stay where she is, because my sister, who we live with, we both live together, she's going to be adopting her. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I know, I'll just give a quick rundown of how much these dogs are. It's like you can see there, the prices. And the lifetime cost of Krista was £22,212. And people say, is that worth it for a dog? And believe me, it is. And, you know, people say to me, oh, you know, could you not just get a carer? No, because they're not there, obviously, all the time. Krista's there all the time, 24/7. If I had a carer come in, then that would still cost me. But you know, it's so much. It's so valuable to me to have Krista around. I will be having another dog as well. Not quite sure when that will be. I will be having another dog. So I hope you got some questions to ask. And thank you very much for inviting us this evening.
Oh, thanks, Lynn. I'm just conscious of time, so I'll quickly go through the last few bits. So as Lynn said, you know, the costs are, yes, they do look quite scary when you see them written on paper, but it is actually worth every penny. Here is a couple of quick testimonials from two different clients, one based in Cheshire near me, and one based in the southwest with different conditions.
My name is Jackie Gord, and this is Duke, my assistant's dog. Just over 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with MS, and I went from being a very active, confident person to becoming very isolated and lonely. As my body was failing to allow me to do things, I even had to stop driving. I became very depressed and became a prisoner of my own home. And I can honestly say that Duke has brought me back to life. He has made me want to live again. The work that Dogs for Good do is amazing, and you know, these animals become life-changing for people.
Hello everybody, my name's Lewis, and today I'm going to be talking about my assistant dog Waldo, who is here with me today. And the two things that Waldo does for me is that he takes my socks off and opens the door, because I have cerebral palsy, as I mentioned earlier, and it affects my legs, so I struggle to take my socks off and open the door. Waldo is amazing because he's just so clever, and he's kind, and he's lovable, and he's just amazing. I think everyone should have a dog like Waldo.
I think everyone should have a dog like Waldo too. Thank you to these guys who filmed that during lockdown last year. We generally train around 50 dogs a year, far less than the demand that we get. As we mentioned earlier, 5,000 inquiries a year. We would love to train more dogs to create more life-changing partnerships, but we just can't. We're just not that big enough. You know, obviously it would cost more money. We'd have to have more trainers, and the money isn't there. Here are just a few ideas if you have been inspired to help us today in terms of the ways in which you can help us. Every little bit helps. Yes, it does all cost money. We virtually receive no government funding, so any help that you can help us would be amazing, as majority of our money comes from legacies, from fundraising like we are doing today, and also from grants and trusts. So I'm going to close here. I think we've overrun. I do apologise. I tried to condense it down, but I obviously didn't condense it down enough. So I'm just going to say thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. And I'll stop sharing my screen and see if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Vicky.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity this evening.
No, it was just really, really interesting. Does anyone have any questions or anything that they would like to know? Richard, you're on mute.
There we go. We all know the programme that's been on television this last couple of years called The A Word, which is about the autistic boy based in Cumbria, ironically. Have you found that people have been making more requests because of that programme for autistic children, or is it a fairly steady trend? It's a fairly steady
trend. I think as time is progressing, people are learning more about that, and an assistance dog can help someone with autism. So that's just naturally word of mouth helped. And then when people are searching and Googling, our name comes up because we were one of the first charities that started training dogs to help people with autism. But yeah, I love that programme, The A Word. I love watching that. It's a really good series. Yes, possibly some people may have thought, oh, hold on, you know, we might need some extra help, but we didn't see a natural spike from that programme. It has just happened organically.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No questions. I never know whether that's a good sign or a bad sign. I always get a little bit daunted when anyone asks me a question.
I think it's a good sign, Vicky, because I think what you've done is with sharing your screen and putting those slides up, you give us the information that probably would have asked about anyway. We've seen the range of jobs that the dogs do. What I would say is that at our next and subsequent meetings, we tend to go back and think about what we've heard from various speakers, and then we decide on what donations we'd like to make. So what I would say is that I will be in touch with you in the not too distant future. I'll do it by email again so I can get any details of addresses and payees for checks, etc. And as I said to you before we started, before most people joined, Jill and I, my wife, we actually witnessed a Dogs for Good helping dog, assistance dog, sorry, with a child with autism. A relative of my wife's second mother-in-law, if that makes sense, you know, the second wife of her father. One of their family, they live in Stratford-on-Avon in the most idyllic cottage just near where Shakespeare would have walked past. And when we went to see them about 18 months ago, one of the children was there, one of their grandchildren, and he is quite severely autistic. And this dog, I can't for the life of remember his name, but as soon as I saw Rolo and Krista, I remembered straight away it was a black Labrador. And it was quite a fun-loving dog. It would come and get pats and, you know, almost roll over and have his tummy tickled, etc. But then they got the green collar out and held it up. And straight away, the dog went to the side of the boy and they put the collar on. And from that moment on, the dog was quite different. It was for him, you know, it was looking after him, and it looked up at him, and we were just totally impressed. So when I heard about your charity, I thought, well, that reminds me about our visit to Shotton that day.
Right.
So can I say to Lynn, thank you very much indeed for the information that you gave. I'm glad to hear that you survived your trip to Marks and Spencer without getting branded as a knicker stealer. I'm sure that probably amused the WI if they heard that.
Oh, they do love that story. We've told that story a few times.
I can just imagine. So thank you to Lynn, and thank you to you, Vicky, for taking the time to be with us tonight at fairly short notice.
Oh, no, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And especially on such a lovely hot evening as well, that you're giving up your time to hear us.
I closed the window because we've got people next door, they've got a barbecue. I didn't want to smell burgers coming into the bedroom. And by now it's like an oven in here.
No.
Can I just quickly say that although, like I said, I don't live too far from where you are, that, oh, you've frozen on me actually, Richard.
Oh no, he's there.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Are you back? Now, if you'd like me over to come up to the club, there'll be no charge, just obviously with this couple. And you can see Krista or my new dog, if I got a new dog by that time, and see what she does for me or he does at that time.
All right.
And
Lovely.
we can do a demonstration for you. And I can show you our little pet dog as well.
Where are you based, Lynn?
We only live in Hisham.
Oh, right. Okay.
We're not far away from you.
We
Yeah,
used to go
Lynn's,
10-pin bowling at Morecambe Bowl when it was still there. We used to play other Rotary clubs, and we never won.
Ah,
We were consistent. We always lost. But,
Oh, consistently good in that score then.
so if we are ever in the Morecambe area again, I'll make a point of talking to Vicky and make contact with you.
Oh, that'd be
I
lovely.
think
that'd be lovely.
seeing one of these dogs would be just like the icing on the cake, if you pardon me.
Yeah, that's why we try to make the presentation as visual as possible so that people can see, even if it's just a short video here and there, and just some of the ways in which our dogs help. But if you guys have got any questions afterwards and you think, oh, I wish I asked that, I'm happy, Richard, for you to give them my contact details and they can liaise with me on a one-to-one
If you've got
basis.
any questions afterwards, just email them to me. I'll send them on to Vicky. And I've recorded this. Got to remember this time to stop the video so that anybody who wasn't here tonight can watch the video, so that they're up to date with what it's all about. So once again, Vicky and Lynn, and a very well behaved Krista, if he's in the room with you, and your pet dog who hasn't barked once, Vicky.
Oh, she did quite a bit of growling earlier. I managed
did she?
yeah. So I'm glad you couldn't hear that. But yeah, thank you so much.
Can I just
Thank
say
you.
a really big thank
Thank
you
you.
on behalf of all our
Oh,
members
thank
for your
you.
presentation tonight. I can ask our members to show their appreciation in the usual way.
Thank you.
Oh, and thank you guys.
Thank you,
as well.
thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Okay, so take care,
You too.
and we'll be in touch soon. So thank you very much.
Oh, have a
Lynn,
lovely evening,
Thank you.
guys.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Take care and thanks again. Really
Cheers.
appreciate it.
okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We'll
Bye.
do the last bit of our meeting, but feel free. Right, bye-bye.